Touring with all of your siblings, I talked with Annie of the Annie Moses Band about touring and her band. Listen on to see what I had to ask.
Hi, I'm Lillian, and I'm with Annie of the Annie Moses Band. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here.
So we were talking a couple minutes ago about the name of the band. Can you tell my listeners the story?
Sure. Well, I am the Annie of the Annie Moses Band, but we named our group after our great-grandmother, and I was named for her when I was born, and she led a really difficult life. She lived during the years of the Great Depression, and she died very young, but she was the first person to really invest in the musical training of her children. And so she did that in the life of my grandmother Jane, and she grew up with this passion for music, and she passed that on to our mother Robin, and our parents in turn passed it on to us.
So speaking about your mother, Robin, I know she won a songwriting, one of those awards.
Yes.
So what was it like growing up in a musical family?
It was wonderful. My parents were both in music professionally, so they were a songwriting team in Nashville, and I wrote a lot, particularly in Christian music. And so I grew up with music everywhere, and I thought for many years that I was going to pursue a classical career, a career in classical music, because I was studying classical violin. But I loved Americana, and I loved folk music, and so it was a great opportunity. So we thought we were going to pursue classical careers, but we got to Juilliard and kind of started embarking upon that process in New York, and determined that what we really loved to do was just making our own kind of music and making music together as a family, which we had always done, but we had never really considered a professional endeavor.
Right. So I know 4 of you hold degrees from Juilliard, and 4 of you have degrees in English from the University of London. Can you tell my listeners about this?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll have to correct you. We don't hold degrees from Juilliard. We did study there, but we studied in the pre-college division at Juilliard. So, so we studied there for 3 years, and then started the Annie Moses Band, started touring full-time. And so, when we were touring, it was very hard to go the traditional college route in terms of getting degrees. And so my brothers Alex and Benjamin, and my sister Camille, and now my sister Gretchen, she just finished up. All 4 of them ended up getting degrees through the University of London, which has a really well-respected but very old correspondence degree. And it's actually a really high-pressure degree because it's all based on one test you take at the end of the year. It's all a handwritten essay-only test. And you never go to a class, and you never talk with a professor. It's just read these books, tell me what you think. If you write well enough, you pass. And if you don't pass, then you don't pass. So it's a very high-pressure thing, but they did really well in it.
So you guys are all siblings. How does this affect your band?
Oh, goodness. Well, it affects our band first in the fact that it can even exist. We've been making music together since we were little. So there's 6 of us. So I play violin. My brother Alex plays viola. Benjamin plays cello. Camille plays harp and piano. My sister Gretchen plays violin and mandolin and guitar. And my brother Jeremiah plays guitar. And then we have a rhythm section that backs us up. We all sing, we all write together. So it's very collaborative. Our style is very unique. We're kind of a genre-defying band in the sense that, when you first see it, you think, oh, it's a string that you think, but then you hear it, and you're hearing it with a really cool rhythm section. You're hearing all these different sounds of jazz and Americana thrown in, and so it's a very unique signature sound.
So you guys have been around for over 10 years. How have you seen the music scene change?
Oh, it's transformed tremendously. I mean, we started music really at the very beginning of the digital music flip over. When we were first starting, that was the days when you were, seeing, NSYNC sell 1 million records in a day or whatever, these outrageous numbers. And right about that time was when we entered the music scene. And so over the last 10 years, 15 years now, we've seen just this huge shift to the digital side of music, which I think has pros and cons. There's part of it is wonderful if you're like us and that you're an independent band, because you can leverage so much without the typical infrastructure of a record label. But on the other hand, there's the difficulties of just how you make money with your music. It used to be that you made money off of selling records, and nobody makes money off of selling records. You only make money off of touring. So everybody tours. So it's a double-edged sword.
So speaking of touring, I know you've played at Carnegie Hall. What's this like?
Oh, goodness. Carnegie is amazing. It's so legendary, especially if you're a classical musician. You kind of grow up with Carnegie Hall in your mind, like, oh my goodness, I will have arrived when I play Carnegie. And it definitely felt that way, when we were able to play there. But my favorite place to play is the Grand Ole Opry. That's the best place to play I've ever been to. I've been honored to play there several times, and you love to play where people love your music, and so it doesn't matter if you're in a fancy place like Carnegie Hall, or you're at Merle Fest and people are sitting out in the rain, but they're loving your music, and that makes it worthwhile for us.
Definitely. So if you could go back in time and give a younger you advice, what would you say?
Oh goodness, that's such a cool question. I think it sounds a little cliched, but I think I would tell myself to be more contented in the moment. So much of, we've been doing this for 15 years now, and it occurred to me the other day, it's like, we're not going to be able to do this forever. Someday we're all going to be 80, and, we'll probably be making music together, on our porch, trying to be, old and crotchety and write songs or whatever, and it'll be fun for a moment, but it won't be like it is now. And so, the best thing is just to be really grateful for those things, and to keep working hard, and to know that it's a long haul too.
So my podcast is called I Had to Ask. I was wondering, what question do you wish people had to ask you in interviews?
Oh, goodness. Well, I'll tell you the reverse of that, and then I'll tell you what you've asked me. So the question I get all the time is how you can possibly be in a band and travel with your siblings, because I think everybody imagines that just being a hellacious experience. They can't imagine being stuck in a tour bus or in a van or whatever on the road touring with all of your family. So I get that question all the time. And in some ways it's kind of sad, because it means that people expect that, you would not get along well with your siblings, and we really do love making music together and love traveling together. I think the main thing I would love for people to ask me more about is just really just my home life. I'm married. I have 2 children, a little 4-year-old son, a little 2-year-old girl, and so in the last 5 or 6 years since I got married, my life has just transformed tremendously, and that's just brought a whole lot of eye-opening experiences. The last thing I'll say too is I have a real passion for new artists and young artists. The world of the arts right now is just really it's just really decadent, and there's a real need for young artists who are highly skilled, but also people of great integrity, to be making music and to finding their way in the world. And so we love to do that. We have a nonprofit that does that.
So speaking of young musicians, what advice do you have for them?
You have to start super early. People wait way too long. I was listening the other day to Tori Kelly's new record, and such an incredible singer, great, talented songwriter. Really loved a lot of the music, but she's 20 or 21, early 20s, and she's been working for this moment in her career for over 10 years. She's been working on it since she was 8 or 9, and it really takes about 10 years to really leverage the momentum that you see when you think of an artist that's kind of arriving in their moment. It just takes that long. So get started early. Find good people to help you.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell my listeners?
No, I've had a great time being here. Thanks, Lillian.
Thanks for being on the show.